Every element that appears on a web page needs to come from somewhere. An HTTP request is an ask for information from the web browser, like Chrome or Firefox, to the server, the remote computer that fulfills that request. The server then delivers everything that needs to be displayed. This includes text, images, styles, scripts, and everything else that makes a web page a web page. Whereas reducing the file size of your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript impacts your web page's overall download size, reducing the number of HTTP requests reduces the frequency at which these downloads need to happen. Less frequent downloads means that a website can be displayed faster. If you want to create a high-performing page, aim to have 30 requests max. We're going to cover 4 strategies you can use to reduce the number of HTTP requests. Let's dig into how to combine text resources, combine image resources, move render blocking JavaScript, and reduce redirects. Web pages often have multiple script files. For example, you might be using multiple third-party JavaScript libraries to perform specific functions, like an image slider, analytics tracking, or animations. The result is many scripts slowing down your web page. Every file that you eliminate is one less HTTP request required to load your page. So how do you combine multiple text files, like JavaScript, on a single page? You can use an open source bundler, like Webpack or Parcel, to combine JavaScript files. If your website is being slowed down by having too many HTTP requests, and you're using multiple text resources, chat with your web developer to combine them. You can also combine image resources. The same logic applies here. Think of all the places across your website that share the same images. One thing that comes to mind are icons. You might have specific social share icons that match your brand style. You could include each image as its own file, but that increases the number of HTTP requests. This is where image sprites come into play. Image sprites are a group of small images that are included in one physical image instead of multiple. With the help of CSS background positioning, your web developer can reposition the single image in a variety of different ways to show you only the icon that you need. This can significantly decrease the number of image files that are limiting your load speed. Plus, it enhances consistency and ensures that all of your icons match across your entire website. It's common practice to put JavaScript blocks in your page header. JavaScript enables your website to behave differently based on the criteria that you identify. But the behavior of your website cannot change if it doesn't render in the first place. This means that the JavaScript in the header is essentially blocking the rest of the page from loading as quickly as it otherwise could. So how do you fix render blocking JavaScript? Move your JavaScript files to the bottom of your page for all non-essential functions. For critical functions, you can place your JavaScript directly in the HTML. Let's say that you want to greet users back to your website by using their name. This is considered a critical function because it completely changes the initial web page experience. To ensure that this JavaScript renders when the page first loads, you call it out directly where it's needed. Here's how this could look. Put critical JavaScript functions directly where they're needed on the page. This means that the JavaScript function insert text will load immediately. Other non-essential functions of your JavaScript file will load after the page renders. Redirects also require additional HTTP requests. A redirect is a way to send both people and search engines to a different URL from the one they originally requested. How many redirects do you have? Well, the best practice is to limit the number of redirects on a web page to a maximum of just 1. Too many redirects will slow down your page. Some redirects are okay, like 303 moved permanently and 302 moved temporarily. In these situations, you're probably not too worried about maximizing the load speed since these pages are already under maintenance. But what about the pages that you do want to optimize? For example, let's say that you want people searching for your website on mobile to see a version of your website that's optimized for their phone. One solution is to use a redirect, but this increases the number of HTTP requests on your web page. Another solution is to use a mobile responsive design. This optimizes your site for devices without any redirects. Avoid using redirects to solve problems on your website that can be fixed through a more strategic design. If you use HubSpot CMS, you don't have to worry about this since your website is automatically responsive for mobile users. Optimizing your web page for the first render is one thing, but how do you avoid time-consuming queries in the first place? Well, that's where caching comes into play. Caching is the process of saving resources to be reused. For website optimization, there are 2 types of caching: server-side caching and client-side caching. In server-side caching, the server saves the result of a single render and serves the same result when it's requested again. In client-side caching, the server tells a web browser to keep the files it downloads so that it doesn't have to download them again in the future. Caching benefits both content consumers and content providers. Caching can help you decrease network costs by reducing requests to your server and improve responsiveness by making your website faster for web browsers to retrieve. Plus, your content will continuously be available even if you experience server outages. Most elements of a website can be cached, including logos and images, CSS style sheets, JavaScript files, media files, and so on. Setting up caching for your website depends on the CMS that you're using. For the HubSpot CMS Hub, server and client-side caching works automatically without any additional plugins required. If you're using the WordPress CMS, you can use a plugin called WordPress Super Cache to cache your pages for you. The WordPress Super Cache plugin generates static HTML files of your web pages, which will be served to the majority of your users. This is a great turnkey solution for marketers without coding skills. Many of the other CMSs out there also offer caching functionality too. Check out the advanced settings in your CMS and look for options to enable page caching on your website. The role of HTTP requests and caching pages is technical. Be sure to connect with your web team to make sure that the solutions they are implementing are improving your website's overall performance, including HTTP requests and maximizing page caching. This will help you create web pages that render quickly, are lightweight, and follow best practices for website optimization.